What's up everybody? Today's video is on the Bosch GSA1100E reciprocating saw. It's an 1100 watt reciprocating saw and it goes 2700 strokes per minute and it's got a 5.1 amp motor. So starting at the front, let me unplug this thing first. It's got, well, most reciprocating saws have this, but it has a shoe that pivots. I believe you can lengthen the shoe. I've never done that, but there are two bolts here. To release the blade, it's not the older style which you turn. You just push that little lever forward, and then you can pull your blade out. And when it's in the back position, it's closed. To put your blade in, you push it forward, push your blade in, and then when it's locked, it's there. That's when there's no blade in it. It's got an LED light right here, which I find really handy because it illuminates the workspace, and quite often when you're using reciprocating saws in dark spaces like cutting beams up in rafters. It's got a nice rubber grip at the front here. It's got a hook on it which comes in handy, like you can hook that on your ladder. The switch has a lock on it like most saws, and it is a variable speed trigger. I'll show you that in a minute. It came with this nice hard plastic case, and one of the nice things about this saw is you have a very long cord, and it's not the cheap plastic cord either. It's a nice thick rubber cord. So in the case, the only complaint I have about the case is there's not a lot of room for the cord. You kind of have to bunch the cord up really small, but it does fit. Up in the top here, you've got a compartment. You can get about 6 or 7 saw blades in there, although only 4 is better because sometimes it flips open when you're carrying it. And then you have the slot for the instruction manual. So now I'll show you, do some testing with the saw. I've had this saw for a year. It's done quite a lot for me. It's cut a lot of oak beams, and I've done some metal cutting, and it actually cuts firewood pretty good. Not as good as a chainsaw, but it does cut the firewood. Let me just adjust my camera here. I'm not sure if this saw is available in North America. This is a European saw, and actually this saw was about 120 euros when I bought it at Leroy, which is the French version of Home Depot. And to get the DeWalt, which didn't really seem like it's a nice saw because they had it on display and I was looking at it, was 200 euros, and the Makita was 180, and neither of them seemed to be quite as well built as the Bosch. They did have the green Bosch, which is the DIY quality of Bosch. I'm not even sure if it's made by the same people who make this Bosch, but it was 100 euros, so for the extra 20 euros, I would recommend getting the professional Bosch. So I'm gonna do some cuts through this chunk of wood. This saw is actually quite smooth. I'm not sure the capacity of this saw. Like really, I don't know if I would even pay attention to the capacity. Like most of the time, if there's a really big beam that you gotta cut through, you get out the chainsaw anyway. But it does cut through 10 by 20 oak beams pretty good. It doesn't bog down or anything, but it takes a while because those oak beams are hard. So, in the way of blades, I use Bosch blades for my reciprocating saw, my drop saw, and my jigsaw. I like I think these are heavy for wood and metal blades. And also if you're just looking for a basic wood blade, the Progressor for wood and metal are really nice blades. And of course for metal, the Progressor for metal is a nice blade. And if you're looking for a flexible blade, like maybe you're wanting to cut the nails underneath the floor to take the floor up, the flexible for wood and metals are really good. So now I'm going to do that cut. You should always make sure that your saws are unplugged before you put blades in them. This isn't Bosch's biggest reciprocating saw. I believe they have a 1300 watt reciprocating saw that has the orbital action. This one doesn't have an orbital action, which when you're cutting through oak beams does make a difference. I've never used an orbital action saw, but this saw is not the fastest when it goes through wood big beams. It does have the power, but it's not the fastest. So when you plug it in, your LED light comes on, and it's bright enough to see what you're doing if you're in a not very well illuminated spot. The shoe doesn't pivot like the DeWalt, but you can lengthen it, I believe. There's an Allen key back here for that. So it still makes quite a bit of vibration, and a lot of that vibration was that this wasn't clamped down very well. But it doesn't make as much vibration as the last reciprocating saw that I used, which was a Redstone, which is really a no-name professional brand. But I think it runs nice and smooth. So, maybe you'd like to see me do that with a pruning blade. And another thing I've noticed about this saw is it's really, really comfortable. Like the grip on it is really nice. And also the trigger lock is easy to get to. It moves both ways, so you can either use this finger or you can just use your thumb. And it does have the variable speed. It's not the fastest slowing down because it doesn't have an electronic brake, but it slows down faster than some tools do. So the pruning blade probably goes faster than the Progressor for wood. I think this is, I'm not sure what it's called. It's S1100E Bosch blade. But I like the Progressor for woods because they make cleaner cuts, so if you don't want to be tearing your material up. Now I'll do a cut in metal for you. Metal's a little harder to cut with a reciprocating saw. I find it likes to slip about a lot. Let me just clamp this down. So I'm going to do this cut with the progressor for metal. This progressor for metal originally came with the saw. It also came with 2 progressor for woods. And I like this quick changer, I guess you'd call it here. It's quick and easy, and it's pretty reliable. I've never had a blade jump out of it or had trouble getting a blade into it. Need to clamp this down better. But that variable speed actually is quite useful for metal cuts, because you can slow it down to start the cut, then speed it up once you got the cut started. And this is just 20 by 20 regular old square steel tube. I think it's a 1 millimeter. Well, you get the idea. It can cut metal. Personally, when it comes to cutting metal, I'd rather just use an angle grinder anyway, but the reciprocating saw cuts faster and doesn't make as many sparks. So, just to demonstrate how the rafter hook works. So it does lean forward when you hang it on the rafter hook, but that's okay. You can hang it on the side of your ladder or something. So I highly recommend this tool. It's a really good tool, not too expensive, and so far I've been really impressed with it. I've had it for a year and done a lot of oak beam cutting. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.